Hey, podcast. Welcome to another episode. You go.
Well, let's be frank.
Let's be frank.
Yeah, this episode's going to be a bit weird.
This one is going to be very frank.
Well, yeah, I mean, separate from what we were talking about in previous ones. Nick again here from Frank. Made a couple of podcast appearances. We're going to get some guests soon.
They're coming.
Lining
up out the door, not really at all.
If anyone here is listening, send Adam a message.
If anybody wants to be a guest on our podcast,
please.
We'd love to have you.
Anyways, today, I guess this podcast is going to be, I'm going to ask you, Matt.
Yeah.
I run this little hobby business thing where I breed fish. Yeah, it sounds weird. I breed fish and I've got an e-commerce store for it.
Guys,
I'm not making this up.
I am going to interrupt. It's really cool what Nick does. Initially, I thought it was a real gimmick until I came across his 40,000 subscribers on YouTube and this kick-ass brand, KFS, Keeping Fish Simple.
That's it.
It's really cool.
Yeah. So anyways, we're going live. I've actually had one chargeback before, but I had no clue what it was because it's very weird.
Yeah.
A lot of people who haven't done e-commerce before don't know about it. And I didn't really understand it until you were talking about it. Yeah. But today we're going to be talking about chargebacks. And I guess this podcast is going to be valuable for people who haven't heard about it before, if you're interested. Or specifically, I reckon young people who want to get into e-commerce, because anyone who is in the slightest entrepreneurial understands they have to do e-commerce really to scale a business now. So we'll try not to be too boring, but I want you to tell us your stories about starting up Frank, because this is kind of your first e-commerce attempt.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a pretty good attempt to start with, if I'm being honest as well. So yeah, I guess, do you want to tell us what a chargeback is firstly?
It is a big, dirty, scary monster. No, it's a real thing. Chargebacks, I don't even know the exact definition of chargebacks, but in real layman's terms, a chargeback is when someone, and there's actually two different types of chargebacks. There's one that's called, say, I've heard within the industry, it's called friendly fraud or friendly chargebacks or white collar chargebacks, which is somebody actually places an order for something, purchases an order from a company. The company then does everything they can. They ship the order to the individual. The individual actually, they receive it, and then they put a notification into the bank saying, I never received my order.
Okay.
Whereas in actual fact, they did.
So that's like if I ordered something and then just claimed to get it for free.
You call your bank and you say, sorry, I didn't receive this.
Right.
That's called white collar chargebacks. Then you have the other side, which is, again, industry terminology. I think it's called like blue collar fraud or chargebacks is when
we're not
somebody...
experts.
We're trying to speak in layman's terms.
Yeah.
And again, the theme of Frank is having very frank conversations.
Yeah, we're humans.
This is just purely based on our experience. We're not, disclaimer, we're not experts in chargebacks. We're not experts in fraud, but this is what we're encountering on a day-to-day. Your blue collar chargebacks, when somebody actually steals a credit card and then they'll go make a purchase on that stolen credit card.
Probably plenty of purchases.
It'll likely be, they'll get it and they'll burn it up hard and fast. And then again, when the person who's had their credit card stolen, they're sitting at home, they jump online, check their bank account and go, whoa, I've just seen 4 transactions that aren't related to me.
Yeah.
And it's legitimate. So they're calling the bank, freaking out, going, hey, somebody stole my card. I've got charges here that aren't related to mine. What banks will do, to their credit, they'll side with the customer and they'll go claw that money back from the merchant, the retailer, the Frank, and then while the dispute investigation actually happens.
Yeah.
So to share a story on us, Frank,
tell us.
Frank, in regards to Frank Mobile's been running for about 2.5 years. We launched in 2018. We initially cut our teeth and learned a lot about the industry, doing a lot of wholesale work. So we work with big corporate enterprise mobile trading operators where we buy their old handsets, others they upgrade their fleet, And then now we sell them directly to individual consumers. We were initially just doing a lot of wholesale work. So we were selling handsets in bulk to international markets and Australian markets. As we stepped into the direct-to-consumer world through building our own e-commerce store, frankmobile.com.au, we very quickly learnt about chargebacks. Now, I'd heard from people in the game of what chargebacks were and to be careful of that when you're starting to sell one-to-one.
Yeah, but you don't think it's going to happen.
But you don't really think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So when we launched, and again, I'm conscious not to bore people with the detail, right? But when we launched, a big thing what we do here at Frank is we like to talk to people. We like to, we're humans speaking with humans, and especially when you're talking with iPhones, it's high value purchases. We like to speak to people.
What Matt's saying is basically, if you order from us, don't be surprised if he calls you.
You're probably
going to talk to us.
And I like talking to people. So what we would actually do is when we'd get an order through, we would jump on the phone and not only confirm the order with the customer, but to make sure there was legitimacy to the order as well. Because then we're doing that to not only protect ourselves, but to protect the credit card, the name on that credit card that purchase is related to.
Yeah.
So we'd call, and when we first launched, we probably had about, 20 or 30 orders in the first week. And we're calling customers and all was going well. And there was nothing kind of red flag. Super exciting to us. It's like, oh, these are great customers. I think people are appreciating having a direct conversation. This whole chargeback thing, I don't know what this is. About 2 weeks after the first orders started to come through, I would start getting notifications through our software, Shopify, that we use for our e-commerce store saying, you've just had a chargeback. So-and-so order number XYZ has just put a chargeback in.
How many?
We had about 6 in a week.
Jeez.
Which when you're talking $1,000 iPhones.
Yeah. Because that's what I'd go for.
Easily.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Easily.
Personally, I mean.
Look, if
I was going to go to that effort, I wouldn't,
And we still sell iPhone 11s for $1,800.
Right.
So I was getting these chargebacks. I was feeling very confident. Yeah, this chargeback thing's nothing. We've got this sorted. No problems. This is just a bunch of bullshit in the industry.
Yeah.
No problems.
Yeah.
Bam, 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 bam.
Yeah, just peppered.
Yeah. Felt violated. Felt annoyed.
The world's not honest.
It feels like, I'm not sure if anybody's ever been broken into. And we got broken into when we were young. I was probably about 13 or 14. And it's just this uncomfortable feeling that it's not so much they've stolen your stuff. It's not that at all. It's the feeling that somebody's come into your home, your place of residence, and they've been lurking around. It's disgusting. And that's the feeling that myself and the whole team we had when we first started getting these chargebacks. Now, probably to the meat of this podcast is what we didn't do, which I'd be recommending to anybody looking to come into the e-commerce world.
We use Shopify.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's really good because they have all that integrated stuff. But when I was with the fish stuff, because I was just drop shipping little things, I actually had a chargeback, but I had no clue what it meant. And it said, before I had the chargeback, it said risk of high fraud or something like that, but I just kind of dismissed it because it was a huge order. Yeah. So I was mega excited.
Yeah.
So were you getting that?
Yeah. So when within the back end of our system, you have different levels. When an order comes through, a level of risk in regards to its fraud is categorized low, medium, or high. Now, again, we're speaking to everybody. We like to speak to people, so it doesn't matter whether it's low, medium, or high. We're just speaking to people in general, but particularly paying attention to those higher risk, those ones that are deemed high risk of fraud. So when we first started, we were working on a very manual process and seeing the orders that were higher risk, and kind of in a way taking a punt, having a chat to them. If we were comfortable that this was a legitimate order, we'd go ahead. If we weren't, we would very politely say, sorry, you haven't proven enough. Yeah. You haven't given enough validation behind this order to show that the person who's actually being billed for this item is you. And
that's not bad for a brand either.
Look, you have to kind of stake your ground. And it's hard. It's hard as a startup. Like what you just said before, you get super excited. You get all these orders coming through and you're starting to go, oh my God, it's finally happening. the last thing you want to be doing is turning away customers. But when you realize that $6,000, that $6,000 hit is coming straight off the bottom line, you've got to really protect. You got to protect your patch. You got to protect your business, but also, and a great friend of mine who's got a lot of experience in this space told me, one of the worst things about chargeback, it's not even so much the money, it's the energy that then comes from this negative experience that then rolls into the team.
Yeah, the team.
So that's a big thing you got to be careful of. So back
poison
real quickly, what we didn't have, which is something I would highly recommend for anybody looking to get into e-commerce, is a thing called 3D secure enabled payments.
I haven't got that yet on KFS, so I'll be doing that.
Definitely do it. Now, 3D secure, speaking real layman terms, is what happens is when we've probably all received it before, but when you make a purchase, when you go to make a purchase, the credit card that you're using, your phone number is likely linked to that credit card through your bank. So it's very secure. So when you go to make a purchase with 3D secure, if a retailer or a merchant, as Frank, has 3D secure enabled, you will get a notification, not from Frank, but from your bank. Yeah. That's a integration with Shopify saying, hey, Nick, you're about to make this purchase. Here's your unique code. We're sending it to your number that's linked with your bank account. So
is this you?
Is this you? Yes. Enter that code in at the time of transaction. That then pulls back from the bank to Frank saying, this transaction has been authorized. You're good to go. That is probably one of the number one things I'd recommend anybody when starting.
Yeah.
Make sure 3D secure enabled payments are enabled. If you don't have that, you're opening up the floodgates.
Yeah, I think you did the right thing too. I mean, like at the start, you definitely, you could still recommend when you calling customers regardless.
I think it's my
it makes Frank a bit unique, I feel too.
Our utopia and our goal as a business is, look, we get it. Things are hard. As you get bigger, things are harder to scale. If we can maintain the level of customer one-to-one support, as in calling, as we grow, that for me is one of our number one goals within this business, because it just brings a level of connection. And again, you're dealing with high value items. I think people respect that you're speaking to a human on the other end of the line.
I think that bringing up the high value items too, that makes you really, really prone, like especially in this industry.
Well, did you know? Sorry to interrupt. This is really interesting. I haven't actually validated this myself, but again, a great friend of mine in the industry told me that mobile phones are the second highest rated fraud industry in the world.
Would gold be the first? Or?
You know what number one is?
What?
Dyson vacuum cleaners.
Right.
Again, I'd love for somebody to actually validate that for me if I can, because I'm telling a lot of people that stat. It's a really good barbecue story stat, but it's high up there.
What sucked up?
Sorry,
I had to do it.
Good pun. Look, I'm a massive fan of I'm raving fan of 3D Secure being enabled. What it does do though, it does create friction to the customer. And it is that fine balance of you don't want to be putting up too many roadblocks in front of a customer when they're really keen to go and make a transaction. I literally just got off the phone before coming to this podcast. There's an older lady who's like to place a transaction. For whatever reason, that connection between Shopify and the bank, and again, it's not Frank, like it's Shopify and the bank, hasn't pulled through. And that could be down to a range of things, connection, whatever. But she's not receiving that code, so she can't put that transaction.
Right.
So what we do there, honestly, we just jump on the phone. We can do a manual transaction there and then. So it's an easy workaround, but it's a friction point for customers. So we're in this early stage of trying to work out, well, what do we need to have in place to protect the business, to protect ourselves, but still give a really good experience for the customer. And so, we're working that out. So if you do happen to come to Frank, if you have any problems with your payments, feel free, call us, text us, jump on the line, and we'll work around it. But that's probably one of the biggest learnings and the biggest scars I've got in coming to ecom world. Chargebacks.
Well, like I said, we're really, really prone here, just at Frank. And I mean, other businesses are too. Like, who would have thought a fish website would get scammed? but I did. Maybe I had 30 orders and it happened. And yeah, so it can happen to anyone. The main takeaway. I think that the other thing too, just before this podcast ends, that's worth mentioning is by having 3D Secure enabled on everyone's website, it makes it more normal. And then customers will be ready for when that does happen, like on a purchase or something like that. It's like, you know how we've got the tap when we go out and buy Coles or like anything. And if it's over a certain price bracket, it brings up, you have to put in your PIN.
Correct.
It's just like that online,
Correct.
which I think is really, should be normal.
Yeah.
And it gets rid of all the scum that,
To put it frankly.
Because the white collar stuff is just ridiculous. I mean, it's all ridiculous, but I can't believe that people are that dishonest.
Look, it has blown my mind how do you say it? It's so common and almost accepted. And look, we can have a whole other podcast, and I'd love to sit down with some high-level management within the banks to go, how can you protect, how can we as an industry help protect the merchant more? But again, we'll say that one for a later one. But it's part of the rules of engagement with playing in the e-commerce world. So just be mindful of it, do your research. Don't be scared by it. Just realize that it's part of the game. And if you want to play and if you want to play in this game and try and build something significant, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
then just be grateful for the fact that you're not Amazon or someone dealing with probably millions in chargebacks.
But you're also, I mean, they make a lot of money too.
They make a lot of money.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I'm going to wrap it up here.
Done.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt, for telling us about chargebacks. I've learned a lot. I hope everyone listening to this podcast, or if you're listening to this on YouTube or whatever, you've learned something too.
Sounds
awesome.
amazing.
Bye.
See ya.